Welcome to Out of the Box 777. It is 2022. I know 2021 was rough, so I send up my love, prayers, condolences, thoughts, and best wishes to all of those who've been through, who've lost something, somebody, who are looking for peace, normalcy, some form of respite, some form of just pattern and order outside of this chaos that we've been dealing with. I'm hoping that 2022 is better for you, that you attain your dreams, that you follow your paths, that you make peace with everything that you went through in 2021, that you develop serenity and just foresight and just fortitude and just magnify the strength in you that's needed to get through and keep on pushing. So, yes, guess what, y'all? I'm back. This is Anthony C. Rucker, now known as the Answers Man. And today I'm going to address a topic close to my heart, and that's healthy and sustainable relationships. I'm going to do so today by dispelling relationship myths. That's right. Today, the subject is the art of successful and meaningful relationships, dispelling relationship myths. Now, you know, I like my definition. So let's see what the definition of myth is. And the dictionary has four different definitions for myth. I'm going to read all of them. A usually traditional story of ostensibly historical events that serves to unfold a part of the worldview of a people or explain a practice, belief, or natural phenomenon. Two, a popular belief or tradition that has grown up and around something or someone, especially one embodying the ideals and institutions of a society or segment of society. 2b, an unfounded or false notion. 3, a person or thing having only an imaginary or unverifiable existence. 4, the whole body of myths. Today, we're defining myth as those dysfunctional beliefs that we carry around like old overfilled luggage, weighing us down to the point we can barely move emotionally or psychologically, sometimes physically, in a happy, healthy, and fulfilling way. So let's get into the relationship myths. The first myth I want to talk about is relationships are give and take. That is a myth. The truth, relationships are give and receive. See, no one needs to take what is given. If I'm giving something to you, you do not need to take it. Taking something when it is being given to you is considered snatching. Taking something when it's not being offered to you is considered theft. And so no one I know who's reasonable appreciates or wants to be stolen from or snatched from. No one wants anything stolen or snatched from them. And so when you give and then you take, you snatch or you steal. And so let's be for real. Stealing and snatching, well, that feeds negative thoughts. I don't know anybody who has a bunch of positive thoughts, positive emotions, or positive memories about when someone snatched something from them or when someone stole from them. And then also, when you take, it implies that you don't trust your partner to give. Think about it. Why would you have to take something if your partner is giving it to you? So it implies that if you have to take it, that you believe or are implying on some level that your partner is not going to give it to you, or you don't believe they're going to give it to you. And see, give and take also alludes to giving only to get something in return. You give and then you take. You're giving to get. You're not giving to give. You're not giving because you want that person to receive. You are giving to get in return. And also, you're acting in a way to guarantee that you're going to get something in return. So I give it, and to make sure I get mine, I take it. And therefore, give and take becomes a very tumultuous relationship. No one wants to be snatched from, no one wants to be stolen from. So you don't have to give and then take. If you are in a healthy relationship, you will give and receive. It will be the ebb and flow of mutual appreciation and giving and receiving between two people. But if you take, understand you are snatching or you are stealing. Neither one is good for relationships. Myth number 2, once a cheater, always a cheater. Not true. The truth is, cheating is a behavior, not a personality trait. Cheating is learned. and it can be unlearned by learning to do something else. And cheating does not make it part of you. If you cheat, it does not become part of who you are. No, all behaviors can possibly be changed. There's no behavior that exists that cannot be changed, including cheating. The other part about saying once a cheater, always a cheater, you are implying that you don't believe that that person has the ability to grow. You're negating a person's ability to grow and become better. And this is the question. If you're negating someone's ability to grow and become better, the question I have is, why would I want to be in a relationship with someone who I don't believe in or someone who doesn't believe in me? And then the other thing I would say is, don't confuse genetics with bad habits. Cheating is not who a person is, it's what a person does. And it's not an organ you cannot live without. It's not like your lungs, it's not like your liver, it's not like your kidneys. Cheating is not something that becomes a part of your physical anatomy, part of your biology and your inner working. Cheating is not part of you. Cheating is not part of you. And so don't mix up genetics with habits. Genetics, we can't change. The fact that we need blood and air, that's not going to change. The fact that we cheat or don't cheat, that can change. And understand, cheating is the symptom, not the problem. And understand what I mean by this. When I say cheating is a symptom. See, the problem is whatever lives in us where we believe that infidelity, lying, and lack of integrity are all right. That's the problem. Because when we start believing infidelity, when we start believing that we should be honest and not lie, when we believe that we should live in integrity, it will automatically get rid of the cheating. The cheating is a symptom of a bigger problem. It is a character flaw that we have that allows us to do that. But it's not the cheating. It is what we have in us that makes us believe or has us believe that cheating is all right. And when we say character, again, it's not your biology. Character can change. It's called growth. It's called maturity. So once you say, once a cheater, always a cheater, you are eliminating or negating a person's ability to grow. You are associating their behavior with their genetics, and you're saying that you don't believe in them. So understand, that is a relationship myth. Myth number 3, love conquers all. This is a big one, y'all, because it affects our perceptions and our beliefs and our expectations in relationships. It is a myth. Love does not conquer all. Love is necessary, but not sufficient. Love is a source of strength, not invincibility. And don't get me wrong, I love love. You know, I'm a proponent of love. And I admit love endures, love inspires, love fuels, love motivates. I even say love loves. I even give it that. Like love, nothing loves better than love. But love does not conquer. It just gives us the strength and the motivation to work through. With love, we still need the maturity, the skill set, the will, the patience, the devotion to act in love. See, we can conquer using love if we know how to conquer using love. See, love is a tool. Think of it like a hammer. The hammer doesn't actually hammer the nail. We use the hammer to hammer the nail. A saw doesn't cut wood. We use a saw to cut wood. If we did not use it, then it wouldn't cut anything. And without a skillful hand, those tools would be useless. It takes a skillful hand, a hand that is trained in the use of it, to make use of it. And that's when we can conquer. That's when we can use love, when we've developed the ability to use love. And then we can use it to conquer. But understand, I don't want us to look at it in this utopianistic heaven thing where we think that means no pain, no suffering, no tears, no dis-ease, no anything. That's not what I'm talking about. No, I'm saying that when love can conquer, I mean, when we can use love to conquer, it means that despite all of that, despite the pain, the discomfort, the ups and downs, the rights and the lefts, the suffering, all of that, that love gives us the ability, the 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 the, the wherewithal to be able to work through it, above it, around it, and keep ourselves dedicated and moving on in the relationship, in the dedication of us. That's what love does. Love is that fuel, that motivation, that tool that we can use to conquer. But love by itself doesn't conquer a thing. We have to develop the ability, the skill set to be able to use love, and then we can start conquering. But love does not conquer all. Love is necessary, but it's not sufficient. Love is a source of strength, not invincibility. Love is not going to get rid of everything, but it will give us the ability. It will provide us with the necessary tools to overcome anything and make it through and still be devoted. It's not going to stop our pain. It's not going to stop our suffering. It's not going to stop our negative times, our bad times. It's not going to do any of that. But what happens is it will help us to build and work through so we can get to the good times, so we can get to the fulfilling times, and so that we can get to getting on and staying together. That's what love does. But love does not conquer all. The next one is, and this one is a big one too, love is not having to say it. Again, not true. Love is not having to say it. Again, not true. Actions can and have lied to us. Love is to be expressed and professed in action and words. And I'm going to prove it by asking some simple questions because we like love is never having to say it. So I'm going to ask this question. Has anyone ever misled you with gifts? Has anyone ever misled you with behaviors? Has someone ever misled you with affection? Has someone ever misled you with time spent? Has someone ever misled you with effort? Has anyone ever misled you with emotion? See, this is the thing about it. If you have been, which everyone has been at one point, then it is true, and we know that we have inherently become conditioned to distrust actions and the people who provide them. You don't believe just in gifts. You don't believe just in behaviors or affection or time spent because those things have betrayed you. So we say that's all you need, but the truth is that's not what all we need. If love is not expressed, love is guessed. He did this for me, so I believe he loves me. She did this for me, so I believe she loves me. She gave me this. She spends this much time with me. I believe she loves me. He did this. He spends this much time with me. He puts forth this much effort. I believe he loves me. But unless you hear from their mouth to affirm or confirm, depending on your term, what is being displayed, you are guessing because we cannot guarantee with 100% accuracy or predict what others will do or think. So just because they show you something does not mean it's love. We have to hear it. Love is to be expressed and professed. Because, like I said, inherently, we have learned to disbelieve actions, to question them, to doubt them. So we need the affirmation or confirmation based on where you're at in the relationship that those actions are because of love. And that can only come from the mouths of the person carrying out those acts, in engaging in those behaviors to say, yes, you are correct. This is being done because I love you. So love is not having to say it is not true. The truth is love needs to be expressed and professed. The next myth, and this again, this is what we call part of rigid thinking or You know, just I call it rigid or rational. It's a whole lot of problems with this thinking. There's a most important part to relationships. I mean, have you heard these conversations? Hey, so what do you think is the most important part of a relationship? What do you need the most in a relationship? You know, if you had a relationship and you only have one thing, what would you have? And that's not even a question, because the truth is, a relationship is the sum of all its parts. And again, I'm going to just prove it with just simple questions. Let's say that you're in a relationship, but I take away compassion. What kind of love do you have? If I take away intimacy and trust, what kind of love do you have? If I take away devotion, fidelity, consideration, fond thoughts, attraction to one another, what kind of love do you have? Take away peace, take away support, take away understanding, take away, oh my goodness, mutual support. What kind of love do you have? What do you do with that? What do you do with the love when you have any one of those missing? All of love is important. All of it. Think about this. Imagine saying, you know what? Well, the only thing going to be missing from my love is fidelity. So now you have to deal with sharing who you love with, who you love for the rest of your life. Or the only thing missing from my love is attention. So they're going to do everything, but he or she's not going to show me any attention. Or the only thing that's going to be missing is physical attraction, or peace and support. Just think about saying that, I'm willing to give up peace and support and compassion for the rest of my life to have love. What kind of love is that? The truth of the matter is, we want it all, but the problem is we do all or nothing thinking. So we want the perfect, most extensive, most wide and deep versions of those things. And the truth of the matter is, we have to accept them in the way that our partner brings them. So it doesn't have to be the most expansive. It just has to be fulfilling enough. It just has to be whole and present enough that it can nurture and fill us. But understand, there is no most important part of love. Name one part of love that you can take away and it won't bother you and you'll still be happy. And I'll tell you, a person who is just desperate to have any form of love rather than no love at all. So remember, all love is important. And who would want love with pieces of it missing? That doesn't make any sense. And lastly, understand, because we have this thing called love languages, and there's no such thing as love languages. They're just mediums we use to express and to receive love. But they are not love's language. They are our language that we use to attribute and understand love, but they're limiting, because none of our love languages are wide enough, deep enough, and expansive enough to include all that love is. So think of love languages as interpreters. Those are just things to help us learn to get on the same page, to speak the same language, so we can begin expanding our understanding of love, so we can find out how to speak love, not in our own limited way, like, oh, it's just affection, or it's just mine is gift giving or acts of service. None of that is expansive enough to encompass all of love, but all of those are a part of love. And so we're supposed to use those to build up so we can understand the full language of love, which incorporates every part of our being, every part of our lives, every part of our emotions and our thoughts. When we are fully engulfed with all that we are inside of it, then we are speaking love. And even then, there are parts of it that we'll never be able to mouth or fathom. We'll just be able to experience on some level. So understand, there are no such thing as love languages. There is the language that love speaks, which is the totality of humanity. And if you limit it to just one part, that is not your love language. That is your love disability. That's what we call things that limit us. If I have a problem with my leg, I would even say, hey, he's disabled. If I have a problem thinking, they might say he's mentally disabled or incapable. But the thing about it is, we wouldn't say that walking with a limp is part of walking. It is a dysfunction of walking, or not being able to remember or think wholly is not, oh, that's just thinking. No, that is a disability or dysfunction of thinking. Being only able to understand love in one aspect is not a language, it's a disability. And what we're supposed to do is use that not as the end all be all, but as the means to introduce us into love so we can understand how it is fully spoken and expressed. And that's it for relationship myths. And now we're going to talk about some things that we should look for in relationships. So, first, relationships should be reciprocal and symbiotic. In other words, they should be whole and mutually beneficial, not equal in input, because everybody has different levels, they have different gifts, they have different things. So it's never going to be exactly equal in the skills, in the insight that you bring. But what you want is you want equal in effort and amount of self-involvement. That's what means reciprocal. Reciprocal, basically, like if you have in mathematics, if it's something reciprocal, it adds up to one. In other words, a whole. And you want your relationships to be reciprocal. You want them to bring a wholeness to you. And symbiotic means mutually beneficial. You want your relationships to be whole and mutually beneficial. In other words, you want both people to be getting something from it. You don't want a relationship where only one person is edified or fed, because that is not symbiotic, and that is a dangerous relationship, because when only one person is getting fed, that's considered a parasitic relationship. And a parasitic relationship is when one thing feeds off another, and once that thing that is feeding off is gone, then it leaves and finds something else to feed off of. And once the thing that's providing the nutrient or the substance is dead or gone, then that relationship is over. And so if you're in a relationship where the only person getting fed is someone else and they're not feeding into you, you're not in a relationship with a partner. You're in a parasitic relationship where there's a parasite and you're the host, or you might be the parasite and the other person the host. But unless people are being fed mutually, you are in a parasitic relationship where one is feeding off the other. And then again, you're not in a partnership. You're not in a, even you can call it a partnership. You can call it a marriage, say you're husband and wife. But based on relationships, one of you is a parasite and one of you is a host. And we don't want parasitic relationships. So remember, relationships should be reciprocal and symbiotic. Also, when we talk about things, sometimes we leave out quality of life. And we want a quality of life. In other words, you don't have to say, I want to be the healthiest and happiest and most sustainable relationship in the world. But you do want a happy, a healthy, and a sustainable relationship. That should be a desire. And again, I'm gonna prove it by asking a couple questions. What good is healthy and happy if it's not sustainable? If someone says, oh, you're going to be as healthy and as happy as possible, but it's only going to last for a year or 2 years or 5 years, and then you're going to end up right back where you're at now, trying to find happiness. What good is that? Yeah, I mean, you're gonna be happy for that time, but then when you go back to where you came from, and that's a continual pattern, you're gonna start developing what we call learned hopelessness or helplessness. You're gonna think, I can never escape this pattern of coming down. So we want it sustainable. So just think about, what if you're happy, but you're not healthy? Think about that. Well, you're going to be in a happy relationship, but it's going to be unhealthy. It's going to beat you down. It's going to pull you down, and it's going to tear away from you. Or what if you're in a sustainable relationship? This relationship, I believe we can make last forever, but healthiness and happiness aren't a part of it. And so you're going to be unhealthy and unhappy, but the relationship is going to last. And so you don't want one of the three. You want all of the three. And again, I'm not saying that you're on a scale from 0 to 100, you have to be at 100 healthy, happy, and sustainable. That is great. That is wonderful. That is the goal. That's the ultimate goal. But most of us, we live somewhere in that spectrum. We're not at zero, but we're not at 100. And so long as it's healthy and happy and sustainable at a level that you can stay fulfilled, that the relationship can stay fulfilled, that your partner can stay fulfilled, and you continually can be reciprocal and symbiotic for each other, then that's the kind of relationship you want. And then you build on it for the goal of being at that 100% happy, healthy, and sustainable. And even if you don't make it, you know you got as close as possible. So understand relationships need to be healthy, happy, and sustainable as much as possible. And throw out the absolutes. Throw out the absolutes and just understand that it is a spectrum and that the goal is to be far along on that spectrum and be moving as far up it as possible, but not to set a thing where if I can't have it all, I don't want anything at all, because that's what we call all or nothing polarized thinking, or it might even be rigid thinking. So get rid of that. The next thing I want to leave are my three keys to relationships. And when I say keys, I don't mean the only keys, but I think these are parts that if they're not there, the relationship just dies. So one is, without trust, there is no relationship. Period. Without trust, there is no relationship. There's no quality. If you don't have trust, you don't have a relationship. You have an acquaintanceship. You have somebody who you like, but you really don't trust. You can't give them nothing. You can't confide in them. So without trust, there is no relationship. The next one, without vulnerability, there is no growth. In other words, you have to have that vulnerability. In other words, think of it, vulnerability like the earth. And say that the earth is very hard soil. No seed is going to last in it. Dry soil, no seed is going to last or flourish in it. Nutritionally deprived earth or drought, it's not going to work as far as planting seed and growing things. So vulnerability is that dirt that we got to get our hands and our soul and our spirits and our emotions in to be able to grow. That is where we plant. We plant in our vulnerability, and if our earth is tore up, if it's hard, if it's brittle, if there's drought, if there's no nutrient there, it'll die. So without vulnerability, there is. And lastly, I want you to understand, without compassion and consideration, even the truth can be abusive. The truth can be hard and it can be cutting sometimes, and it can be stifling. And the last thing we want to do is be so overbearing with the truth that it's not palatable, or it hurts so much that people shy away from it or run from it because they can't deal with the pain of it. So you want to blunt the hard, and you want to dull the sharp and the jagged. So for instance, if I want to get your attention and you're too far away for me to reach, and I got to throw a rock, I can wrap the rock in something like bubble wrap or something, and it's going to hit you and it's going to jolt you, but it's not going to hurt you or kill you unless the rock is real big, or I don't use a lot of bubble wrap, but you know that how that works. But what I'm saying is it will still get your attention, and it will serve the purpose without doing harm to you. And I'm going to use this in terms of presentation. The words of Cliff Huxtable when he was telling Vanessa and her boyfriend Dabney that he didn't like, that he and Claire didn't like him. And Dabney was saying, you don't like me because you're a doctor and she's a lawyer and you're looking down on my profession. And then Mr. Huxtable said, listen, take your favorite meal. And he described his favorite meal. And he said, now imagine I go out to the alley and get a garbage can lid and put the meal on it and bring it to you to serve it. He said, it loses its flavor, doesn't it? Loses its appeal. And then Dabney was like, yeah, he said, that's why I don't like you, because you were brought in on the garbage can lid. He said, I wouldn't like you no matter what you've done. And so that's what you have to understand. Sometimes presentation is not only the main thing, it is the only thing, because it overwhelms the presentation so much that people lose their desire or affinity or will to do it because of how it's presented. I mean, think about if I brought you a perfect meal and I had a bottle of poison sitting on the plate and I sat it in front of you. You're not going to ask if the poison is in the plate. You're not going to ask if the poison is in the food. You're going to see poison sitting next to the food. You can say, I don't want it, because the presentation is not palatable. It's not safe. It's not something that you are willing to take or take a risk on. So understand that even the truth If it doesn't have compassion and consideration, it can be harmful and it can be abusive. So always give it in compassion and consideration. So remember those things. Without trust, there's no relationship. Without vulnerability, there's no growth. And without compassion and consideration, even the truth can be abusive. So I want you to take these things. I want you to leave in peace, power, and possibility. And I want you to get rid of the relationship myths so you can deal and live fully in the relationship gift. This is Anthony Rucker. This is Out of the Box. I am the 777. I am the Answers Man. Welcome to 2022. Y'all be easy.